Good day, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This morning in this video we're going to be talking about roads, driving and how to go about getting your UK driver's license once you get to the UK. Hi, my name is Naomi. My husband came over to England in March 2020. Myself and our 3 daughters only arrived in November 2020 because we were waiting for our visas to be able to come over. Once you arrive in the UK, you are going to need to change your driver's license. The nice thing about that is you don't need to retake your driving exam or driving test or do a theory test or anything like that. All you need to do is you need to send your current South African license, which must not be expired, to the DVLA in Swansea, and they will then issue you with a new UK driver's license. In order to get the process started, you need to either go to your local post office, or I have heard that you can apply for your D1 form, which is the form you need, on gov.uk. So you have your form now, and the next step is that you would go to the post office. So if you are a British citizen like my husband, you would fill in your British passport, your passport number in the little block. There is a little block where you fill in your passport number. If you are not a British citizen and you are like myself or other people on a visa, you will have some other form of identification, like we have our BRPs, that needs to be your form of ID. You then need to have photos taken. Now, like I said in my postal video, you have in our post office we have a little photo booth. You can either use one of those photo booths or you can go to a shop where they do passport photos. So you need 4 photos. No, sorry, you only need 1 photo, sorry. You'll then also need a self-addressed envelope with postage on it because your BRP needs to come back. You need to pay for a postal order. I think when I did it, so this is a while ago, it was £35. And the last thing that you need to enclose in there is your current South African driver's license. Your South African driver's license must not be expired. Okay, and it's not going to come back. Your South African driver's license probably gets destroyed. Within a few days, your BRP will come back to you, to your house. It will be delivered to your house because it will be in the self-addressed envelope. Your UK driver's license will come back to you in time. Your new UK driver's license will come back in a couple of days or weeks. I didn't have to wait too long for my BRP or my driver's license. It was fairly quick and it arrived back at my house. As I have mentioned previously in my postal video, the postal system in England works very well. So don't stress too much about your BRP. I did worry about my BRP. I worried if it was even going to come back, but don't worry about it. If it does get lost, if your BRP does get lost, you contact the post office and they will help you through the process of either getting your current BRP back, or they will tell you how to go about getting a new one. There is one thing to remember: your driver's license here in the UK lasts as long as you live in a current address. So for example, if you watched my renting video, we moved from one house to another. We then had to change our driver's licenses because our address was not correct anymore. So you need to remember, if you move, you need to change your driver's license. If you are like me and my husband and are fortunate enough to have teenage children, once they are over 16, they get an NI number. If your child hasn't got an NI number, you need to apply for that. You go to gov.uk to apply for your NI number. Once your teenager has their NI number, they will need to apply for a provisional license. So your teenager or your 16-year-old, if they want their driver's license, they don't necessarily have to apply for a provisional license. If they want a driver's license eventually, and if they want to start learning how to drive, then they apply for a provisional license. This is not a have to kind of a thing. So your teenager would then take their D1 form, which they have requested, off gov.uk, and they followed all the prompts. They take their D1 form, they take their 1 passport photo. They do not have to enclose a postal order, and they obviously don't have a South African driver's license, so they don't need to include that. But they do need to include their BRP and a self-addressed envelope with a stamp so that their BRP will come back. Within a few days, their BRP will come back, and then their provisional. Now, with our one twin, Casey, she applied for hers, and her provisional license came fairly quickly, but her BRP took a few days. With Hannah's BRP and provisional license came back very quickly. Once your teenager has their provisional license, they then need to register for a theory test. Now, it doesn't need to be done right away, but they do need to do a theory test, and they do need to start booking driving lessons if they want to learn to drive. The provisional license is only valid for 2 years, so they do have a small window to do all the things that they need to do. Now, Casey is a lot more, Casey's been doing driving, Casey's done her theory test, Casey has and passed. She is doing driving lessons. Unfortunately, she hasn't been able to book her driver's license for now. Hannah has her provisional, but she has not done the theory test, nor has she booked her driver's license or even driving lessons. So it just shows you each child is different, but they both do have their provisional licenses to start with. The next thing that your teenager will need to do is, once they book the theory test, they'll need to go and write it, and they can start driving lessons. Before they've even done their theory test, they can do driving lessons. Again, this is our experience. So if your driving instructor is a bit different and your teenager's driving instructor says, no, you've got to do the theory test first, then you need to follow whatever the driving instructor is saying. But for us and our experience, Casey was able to do driving lessons, then do her theory, and continue with her driving lessons for now. Once you have your brand new UK driver's license and your teenager is a valid driver on the roads of the United Kingdom, you will then start driving. The other great thing about living in England is we drive on the left-hand side of the road, exactly the same as South Africa. You don't need to drive on the right. You drive on the left-hand side of the road. But some other European countries drive on the right, but in England they drive on the left. You need to remember, here in the UK, the rules are strict. If you do not obey the rules of the road, you will be in trouble. You will either get points off your license, or you even get your license taken away. You need to follow the rules of the road. You need to watch your speed. You need to be extremely careful of pedestrians and bicycles. You need to remember, here in the UK, bicycles and pedestrians take precedence. You need to be very careful. Also buses, if you are driving, buses have right of way, and there are a lot of buses on the road because there is a lot of public transport in the UK. Like I said, pedestrians and bicycles are very important. So if you're driving your child to school, or if you are driving past to school on your way to work, etc., be very careful, be vigilant. Here where we live, you are not allowed to go over 20 miles per hour when you are driving past to school. And that's another. There is one difference here. It's very similar. Your cars are similar, and you drive on the left-hand side. But here in the UK, they go in miles and not kilometers. Even your car speedometer is in miles, not kilometers. You need to remember, when you are driving in the UK, there are charges. So for example, if you go into town and you go and park in a parking, you need to get the parking app and you need to pay for your parking. It is very important. If you don't pay for parking, you will get a fine. And all of the parking places have little cameras, so don't think you're going to just slip in and out. The camera will catch you. They'll catch your registration number. When you go to where we live in Kent, if you go to London, you have to pay charges. So, for example, if you go into London, you've got to pay congestion charges. So if you are going into London with the car, you need to pay up front for your congestion charges. Obviously, if you're catching the train, you don't need to pay because the trains go in and out all the time. We have done a fair bit of traveling, and we've gone in and out of Suffolk quite a few times. Now, to go from Kent to Suffolk, you have to go through the Dartford Tunnel, going to Suffolk, and coming home to Kent, you go over the Queen Elizabeth II Bridge. So every time you cross you go through the Dartford Tunnel or you cross the Queen Elizabeth Bridge, you have to pay a fee. If you don't pay, you will get a fine. So when you are planning to go somewhere or you're planning a route, make sure to check if there are different charges for where you are going. Like I mentioned earlier about the parking garages and parking your car. Now, we say in South Africa, we would say number plate. Here in the UK, it's not your number plate, it's your reg number. And your reg number is quite important because you can look up quite a lot of things with your reg number. They can look up your MOT. You can look up your MOT. So if you're purchasing a car from somewhere, you are more than welcome to use the reg number to check all the details of that car. And MOT is extremely important here in the UK. Your MOT has to be done every single year. Make sure you choose a valid service provider for your MOT. Check reviews on the internet and ask around, like in your area. Say, have you used this place or this place for your MOT? How were they? Were they friendly? So for example, we used one in town because obviously we have a car and we had to have an MOT. We used one in town, and we have since told our friends about them and that their service was good, and we passed our MOT. So you have to pass. If you don't pass your MOT, you basically take your car home and leave it there until you fix the problems, and they will give you all the problems that you need to fix. So MOT is very, very important. Basically, it's very similar driving on the roads here in the UK to in South Africa. The only thing is, and no offense here, there's no taxis. But the roads here in the UK are relatively a pleasure to drive on. You obviously do have to get used to some of the things that are different from South Africa. A few people park their cars on the road, and what I mean by that is if there's a narrow road and you've got cars on this side and cars on that side, you and the oncoming traffic have to take turns going down that road. But that doesn't happen all the time, and it definitely doesn't happen on main roads. It happens sort of in a little suburb or in not the main roads. I hope that this video has been helpful to you, and I hope that if you are not immigrating but you know someone who is to England, please pass on this video. Please share it to them. I would love to be able to help more people. And like I say, driving here it's very similar to South Africa. There's just a few differences, and just the rules are very strict here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you like this video and you like the other videos in the series, please subscribe. Please consider subscribing so that you can watch all the videos as they come out. It's been so great chatting with you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.